Hello, you're welcome to Zigmatech Learning Hub. I will be your instructor for literature. For this class, we are going to take our exercises from the ExamGuide app. If you don't have the application already downloaded in your device, I would want you to download the app in order to follow along in the class. ExamGuide is a leading educational app that helps students prepare for exams like UTME, post-UTME, WEAC, GCE, KCPE, IJMB, JUPEB, Cowbellpedia, BECE, JSCE, and so on and so forth. You can download the app from www.examguide.com or Google Play Store. Please subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell to be updated for our new videos. So, are you ready for today's class? Let's get started. We are still on poetry. For today's topic, we're looking at rhythm and meter in poetry. Our specific objectives for today's lesson. By the end of the lesson, you should be able to indicate the metrical pattern of a poem, differentiate between the different forms of metrical feet, analyze the metrical pattern of a given poem. I want you to take your time and look at the lines on your screen on your own. Feel the rhythm in the lines on your screen. I'm not going to read it out for you. Read it on your own, and then we move on. Now let's look at the first one. What is rhythm? In every poem, rhythm is very important. Poets cannot write a poem without rhythm. Every poem must have a rhythm. So what is rhythm? As I've explained earlier, rhythm is a musical quality in poetry produced by repetition. This repetition can come in form of stressed and unstressed syllables, repeating words, phrases, lines, or sentences, using rhymes, repetition of sounds, pauses, or varying the length of lines in a poem. When a poet does all of this, what he does is he uses this to create rhythm in the lines of his poetry. Now we are going to also look at meter. What do we mean by meter in poetry? Meter is a generally regular pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables in poetry. A regular pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables in poetry. Now, for the sake of this class lesson, we are going to look at some keywords, stressed syllables and unstressed syllables. What do we mean by these? And going forward, to indicate stressed syllables, we're going to use the forward stroke, and to indicate unstressed syllables, we're going to use the upward curve. So take note. Now, what do we mean by a syllable? A syllable is simply a unit of pronunciation which contains a vowel sound. Now, in English language, there are two main types of syllable. We have the unstressed syllable and we have the stressed syllable. What do we mean by stressed syllable? A syllable is stressed when it is pronounced with greater emphasis. That is, the syllable of a word. The syllable of a word is stressed when it is pronounced with a greater emphasis, that is, higher pitch of voice. Now, an unstressed syllable is that which is pronounced with less emphasis in a word. Look at the examples we have here. The first one says water, water. On a closer look, you see that the stressed syllables in these words have been emboldened or boldened. So we have water. So we have two syllables in water, wa and ter. So the stressed syllable is in WA, while the unstressed syllable is TER. Water. Another example is danger, ahead, amend. Now, these are examples of stressed and unstressed syllables. Take notes. In a sentence, content words are stressed while function words are not stressed. Now, what do we mean by content words and function words? Take note that an understanding of these words, content words and function words, will help us in identifying stressed and unstressed syllables in lines of poetry. Okay, content words are simply words with specific meaning, words which carry specific meanings in sentences, such as nouns, adjectives, adverbs, main verbs, and negative markers. By negative markers, we mean words like not and never. On the other hand, we have function words. Function words include conjunctions, pronouns, prepositions, determiners, auxiliary verbs, modals, and qualifiers. Now let's look at the units of meter proper. Remember, we've already defined what meter is. Now let's look at the different units of meter, how lines of poetry are measured, and how you can indicate or identify the metrical pattern of lines in poetry. A meter is measured in units called feet. A meter is measured in units called feet. Please, when we talk about feet here, we're not looking at the parts of your body. A foot in poetry usually consists of one stressed syllable and one or more unstressed syllable. Remember, you already know what we mean by stressed and unstressed syllables, okay? The feet in a poem are divided by vertical lines. So take note of the vertical lines you can see on your screen. The vertical lines are in black, okay? So let's look at this example here. It says, the village, the village, the village, the village smithy stands. The village smithy stands. The village smithy stands. You'll notice that in this line, the is unstressed. Vil is stressed. Lidge is unstressed. Smith is stressed. The Y in smithy is unstressed. And then stands is stressed. So this pattern gives us a rhythm. Now, how do we measure, how do we call foot or feet? The pattern, look at this, we have the and vil. These two form what we have a feet, or a foot rather. The is unstressed, vil is the is unstressed, and vil is stressed. So these two syllables form what we call a foot. Lidge is unstressed, Smith is stressed. These two form what we call a foot. Remember, these two parts, one is unstressed and one is stressed. Okay? The same goes for the second line, the smith, a mighty man is he. The smith, a mighty man is he. So the smith gives us a foot. A might gives us another foot. A man gives us another foot. Is he gives us another foot. So if you look at this line, how many feet do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 feet. In the last line, we have with large and sinewy hands. Okay. Now let's look at the types of metrical feet. There are different types of metrical feet in poetry. The first one is called IJMB. IJMB. What do we mean by IJMB? An IJMB is simply an unstressed syllable followed by a stressed syllable in a line of poetry. An unstressed syllable followed by a stressed syllable in a line of poetry. So it goes this way. Da, 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 da. So for example, we have his hair, his hair, his hair, da, da. His hair is crisp and black and long. His hair is crisp and black and long. So we have how many feet here? We have 3 feet in this line of poetry, and each of them contains one unstressed syllable and one stressed syllable, giving us what we know as IJMB. IJMB, remember, IJMB is a type of metrical feet. Let's take it again. His hair is crisp and black and long. Okay, let's look at the next one. The next one is trochee. Trochee. It is pronounced trochee and not trochee. Trochee. Trochee is simply stressed syllable followed by an unstressed syllable. So we can say that trochee is the opposite or the reverse of IJMB. Trochee is the reverse of IJMB. Stressed syllable followed by an unstressed syllable. IJMB is unstressed syllable followed by stressed syllable. Trochee is stressed syllable followed by an unstressed syllable. So instead of da, da, we have da, 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 da. For example, we have week in, week out, from morn till night. Week in, week out, from morn, okay, week in, week out. The trochee metrical foot here is in week in and week out. Look at it, we have a stressed syllable in week in. The first phrase there says week in. So in week in we have a stressed syllable followed by an unstressed syllable. So week is stressed, and in is not stressed. Okay? In the second phrase there we have week being stressed and out being unstressed. Then going to, okay, that is all we have for this line. In this line, the first 2 phrases, we have an example of trochee, week in, week out. That is it. Week in, week out. That is da, 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 da. I hope that is clear. Let's look at SPONDY. What do we mean by SPONDY? When we talk about SPONDY, we're looking at 2 stressed syllables in a line of poetry. 2 stressed syllables in a line of poetry. So what does that mean? We have da, 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 da. So for example, it says, it goes this way: thanks, 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 thanks. Take note of the highlighted part on your screen. Thanks, thanks. So these 2 words form an example of SPONDY in poetry. So the line says, thanks, thanks to thee, my worthy friend. So the first 2 words give us an example of a SPONDY in poetry. Then we also have another one called anapest. Anapest. What do we mean by anapest? An anapest is simply 2 unstressed syllables followed by a stressed syllable. 2 unstressed syllables followed by a stressed syllable. So for example, we have and the muscles, and the muscles, and the muscles, and the muscles of his, and the muscles of his brawny arms. So in the example below, we have, in the highlighted part, we have and the being unstressed, and then we have the first part of the word muscle being stressed, that is MUS, as the stressed syllable of the word. Now, this pattern is an example of what we call anapest. Remember, we've talked about IJMB, we've talked about trochee, we've talked about SPONDY, and then this one is anapest. Dactyl. Dactyl is simply one stressed syllable followed by two unstressed syllables. One stressed syllable followed by two unstressed syllables. So what this means is da, 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 da. So for example, singing in paradise, singing in paradise, singing in paradise. Focus on the highlighted part on your screen. You see that we have the first part of singing, that is S-I-N-G, as the stressed syllable, and then we have ing as the unstressed syllable in that word, and then we have the word in being unstressed too. So how many metrical patterns have we talked about? We've talked about 5. We have IJMB, trochee, SPONDY, anapes, and dactyl. Remember, the easiest way to identify or to differentiate between an IJMB and trochee is that IJMB is the complete reverse of trochee. IJMB is the complete reverse of trochee. So in IJMB we have unstressed syllable followed by a stressed syllable, and then for trochee you have a stressed syllable followed by an unstressed syllable. Now let's look at free verse. Now you know that in not all poetry, not all poems have a methodical rhythm or a methodical or a pattern, a clear-cut pattern. So when we talk about free verse simply looks at that kind of poetry that does not have a regular meter or rhyme scheme. It doesn't have a regular meter, it doesn't have a regular rhyme scheme. So free verse sometimes sounds like an ordinary speech or a loose kind of rhythm. For example, here it says, "Let us write of olden golden days and hunters of the Holy Grail and men called knights, riding horses in the rain, in the cold frozen rain, for ladies they loved." There is no regular metrical pattern in this poetry or in this extract, and it resembles ordinary speech when you look closely at the extract. So we've talked about these types of metrical pattern. A close look at these types of metrical pattern will help you understand poetry very well. So before you understand them, before you have a deeper understanding of this of metrical feet or metrical pattern, you should have a sound knowledge of stressed and unstressed syllables. Remember, we said that a stressed syllable is that part of a word. A stressed syllable is that part of a word which is pronounced with a greater emphasis, whereas an unstressed syllable is that part of a word which is pronounced with what? Less emphasis. Okay, remember, a syllable is also a unit of pronunciation which contains a vowel sound. So your knowledge of all this will help you to understand metrical pattern in poetry. I assure you, it's quite interesting. You need to give it a try. Practice. Now this is for you. Indicate the metrical pattern in the following lines. I want you to indicate the metrical pattern in the following lines and then give me your feedback. Comment your feedback as you watch this video. The first one is, "Behold and watch the sun destroy and grow." Second one is, "When I do count the clock that tells the time." Number 3 is, "And on thy cheeks a fading rose." Number 4, "To me, fair friend, you can never be old." So tell me, what are the metrical patterns in these lines? I'll be waiting for your comments. Let's move on to our app to answer questions on this topic. Okay, remember how we do it. You go to the app, choose your subject, go to the year, choose any particular year of your choice, but for me, I'm going to choose random. And then you select your topic. We are looking at literary terms and figures of speech. and then we get started. So we're going to go through these questions and look for a question that relates to the topic that we have just discussed. Okay, let's take this question. Question 12, it says, an emphasis placed on a syllable in pronunciation is A, accent, B, rhythm, C, rhyme, D, meter. Now, in this, if you look at this question, I know I didn't mention accented and unaccented syllable, but when we talk about an accented syllable, it also means a stressed syllable. So the answer to this question is what? A. Thank you for participating in today's class. You can practice more questions using the ExamGuide app. The app scores and gives a detailed explanation of all the questions at the end of your practice test. You can learn a particular topic of interest with different modes like study mode, mock mode, and practice mode. It also has other features that make learning fun. It is a must-have for all serious students. Download it from www.examguide.com if you don't have it yet. See you in the next class. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell, and share the videos to people that will benefit from it. Bye!